Live in three, two, one. Welcome back to another episode of Our Real Addiction with your host, Miguel. This is what episode 142, and I will be soloing this episode today. So, thank you for joining us every week, as always. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, and like this video for more future content available. Thank you again for keeping patience with us. Life gets in the way sometimes. Adam is unfortunately out this week, but we will be returning together as a duo the following week in order to review Ahsoka as a full series, so keep an eye on that. We will be having our regular programming with Movie News Monday and TV Inquiry. TV Inquiry for me, sorry guys, a lot's been going on for me. I do have the episodes planned out for the rest of its portion, but once I get to recording and editing them, then those will see the light. But those will be soon, I promise. So thank you again for keeping faith in me. You might see an episode tomorrow, you might not. I will let you know. But first and foremost, I am recording this on October 3rd. Happy birthday to Nev Campbell. I love you so much, girl. You have been an inspiration to me and to any uh, character in terms of final girls moving forward in slasher films and in horror in general. I love you so much. I hope I see you in Scream 7. That is now in talks of it being hopefully taking place during the holidays, specifically Christmas, which would be a first time for Ghostface and the gang. But we'll see. You know, nothing like the holidays that brings family and death together. So we'll see how that goes. But also, it is October, so happy October for everybody. Spooky season has begun. I normally see it, I think, since September, but that's just me. I don't know how it is for you guys, but it's a great month to watch horror movies. So yeah, obviously, since I don't have Adam and lacking that form of charisma and back and forth, it will be a shorter episode. I will be giving you our box office as well, though not as good as Adam, but I will be doing it, and I will be discussing a little bit more of a breakdown into the agreement for the writers, and what that entails for them moving forward in the upcoming years. I also will be talking and giving a little bit more of my Saw X review, just because I did get a chance to see it. I don't know if Adam's going to get a chance to see it, but I will be talking spoilers in this review. I will be giving first thoughts. I did see this movie with my roommates, so I got some thoughts from them. But without further ado, thank you for joining me on this episode, and let's get started. First things first, we will be talking about box office. So the first top five we have, coming in at number 5, we have The Blind with a weekend gross of 4.4 million and a total gross of 5.2 million. I haven't seen this movie. It's apparently based on a true story. I don't know who it is based on, but if you guys have seen it, please leave a comment on the comment section below and let me know. Is it worth checking out? Is it worth seeing in streaming? Probably, because I'm not sure. I actually haven't seen much of this movie at all in terms of buzz or trailer, so maybe that's something I have to check out. But maybe right now it's just competing with not much, but we'll let you know. But coming in at number 4, The Nun 2, which I did get a chance to see. If you guys haven't been able to get a chance to see this movie, go see it. It's a lot of fun. I think it's way better than its predecessor. I feel like they develop more of a story with the demon Valark and how that can set up the Conjuring 4, which is great because it's nice to see the Flamingo sisters in the same universe, even though they're not in the same timeline. But I mean, not in the same timeline, but not in the same decade at the time. But who knows? Maybe we'll get to see the Conjuring 4 with both of them in them. I don't know. That'd be really, really nice. But its weekend gross office came in at 4.8 million, with a total gross so far of 77 million in its 4-week run. So that's really impressive. I hope it reaches a little more higher numbers, especially now during October. Coming in at number 3, we have The Creator with a weekend gross of 14 million and a total gross of 15 million. So off the bat, off the chart, it was a weekend. It's pretty sad. Adam and I did see did see this movie and we left our review, which we uploaded on Friday. If you haven't been able to chance to see it, go check it out. We give our thoughts. This movie does beg the question of whether it was a good movie based off on cinematography or if it was based off story, and whether these two could blend together in order for them to be a good movie. Of course, in Gareth Edwards we trust, but apart from the movie being visually stunning, is the story there enough to save it for it to be, within some of the ranks of good sci-fi? So all those questions and more on our review, but you let us know. Coming in at number 2, which is Saw 10, with a weekend gross of 18 million and a total gross of 20 million. I did get a chance to go see this movie. I saw it, I think, on Sunday. My movie theater, I caught a late showing with my roommate, so that's probably why. But my movie theater was a little empty. I think there was probably about 15 of us in there, including us, and there was 4 of us. I'll tell you guys my review towards the end, but until then, but coming in at number 1, we have Paw Patrol: The Mighty Movie with a weekend gross of 23 million and a total gross of 24 million. What a surprise! But also too, let's talk about its marketing here, because I want to give out a shout out to 2 of my best friends that I did go see this movie. Actually, one of them did go see this movie. One of them was telling me that obviously shout out to Perla. She went to go see this movie with our friend Alexa, and it was after a long shift, so they kind of just had a chance to decompress. They obviously just loved going to the movies to see a movie, and Paw Patrol was that movie. She knew immediately that the intended audience wasn't for her, clearly, but the animation was cute, the story was there, she said, and overall I think she enjoyed it. Juan, on the other hand, shout out to Juan, and this is something that I thought about as well, and we came together and talked about because he approached me with it, and I thought I was the only one that noticed it, but I think I wasn't. But Paw Patrol: The Mighty Movie had its PR and advertisement very similar to the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie that came out back in like the 90s or the early 2000s, and in just from like the similarities from the music choice in the trailer, the kind of like the color scheme as well, the single posters for each of the characters, including some of the swords that like come together to form this mechanism of like puppy power. We just saw a very close similar, and he made it seem that the PR team made a nostalgia bait approach to this movie, hence why parents went to go see this movie, because of its kind of grab for it, whether it was a cash grab or whether it was just for kids to go see this movie and kind of see a new interpretation of Power Rangers, is up to the audience completely. And also too, it is not a Power Rangers movie, but it's a very close one if you really care to. I'll put some posters up and compare them so that way you guys can see, because I like, if you can tell here, you can see that like there's very close similarities between the Paw Patrol and the Mighty Morphin, and obviously there's Mighty in the tagline as well. But you let me know your thoughts. I feel like I'm not the only one that thinks this. I feel like it's not an original thought, but thanks Juan for pointing it out, because I remember seeing this movie trailer in theaters and being like, this is interesting, but who knows. All right, coming in with our first topic. Sorry, I had to get a little coffee in me. Here we go. So the writer's strike finally came to an end, just for the writers portion. SAG-AFTRA is still on strikes, but the Writers Guild have reached an agreement, and overall the summary of that is that under the tentative contract, minimum weekly pay for writers will increase more than 12% over the 3-year duration of the deal, according to the summary of the tentative agreement made public by the WGA. Moreover, various projects will see a major boost in residual payments. So that's usually overall the consensus. I'm gonna dig a little deeper into what that entiles and what that means for the upcoming years. You can find this, and I'll post this on the bio as a link below. It's on the WGA contract 2023.org agreement, and it's basically a summary of that. It lists things from first to like terms of agreement to minimum increases, increased health and pension contribution rate, increased health and pension contribution for writing teams, and coming in at number 5, like artificial intelligence. So there's all this like deep dive and numbers and charts of everything, and that way it's a little bit more for those of you who see things but more mathematically. This is something that I think will help you guys out, but I won't hesitate to go into. The following is a summary of the deal terms for the 2023 MBA. It is a simplified version of the Memorandum of Agreement (MOA), which contains the full text of the new provisions. The language of the MOA controls in the case of any inconsistency with this summary. Unless amended in the 2023 negotiations, the provisions of the 2020 MBA remain unchanged. It's the first term of agreement. The term of agreement is September 25th, 2023 through May 1st, 2026. Minimum increases. Most MBA minimums will increase by 5% on ratification on the contract, 4% on the 2nd of May of 2024, and 3.5% on the 2nd of May of 2025. Some minimums and rate increase less, mostly by 3% each year, while a few rates increase only once or do not increase over the contract. These exceptions are the result of patterns established by the industry. Increase health and pension contribution rate. The health fund contribution on reportable earnings will increase 0.5% in the second year of the agreement from 11.5 to 12%. The Guild also has the right to divert an additional 0.5 in each of the second and third years of the contract from various minimum increases to either the health fund or pension plan, which is nice because in that sense, I think that gives it obviously more power to the writers to be like, okay, we have another boost coming up. Where do we need that for? However, I wish they had more. I wish they didn't have to decide on which one. I feel like both are equally important in my opinion, but then again, at least we reached a compromise. Increased health and pension contribution for writing teams. Each writer on a writing team employed for a script will receive pension and health contributions up to the relevant cap as though they were a single writer. Awesome. Rather than splitting the applicable cap. In addition, when a writing team is employed on a series, the contribution for each writer on the team will be made on the fully weekly minimum instead of one half of the weekly minimum. Okay. Thoughts on that? That's depressing. Now this one's the one that I'll leave off on because I have an article pulled up from NPR that I really liked, and it's more of an inside voice behind the agreement from two writers. But this one actually has to do with artificial intelligence for the summary. So number 5 is artificial intelligence, and it states that we have established regulations for the use of artificial intelligence on MBA covered projects in the following ways. AI can't write or rewrite literary material, and AI generated material will not be considered source material under the MBA, meaning that AI generated material can't be used to undermine a writer's credit or separated rights. A writer can choose to use AI when performing writing services if the company consents and provided that the writer will follow applicable company policies, but the company can't require the writer to use AI software when performing writing services. The company must disclose to the writer if any materials given to the writer have been generated by AI or incorporated AI-generated material. The WGA reserves the right to assert the exploitation of writers' material to train AI is prohibited by MBA or the other law. So, lots to digress. Again, it is just basically a summary. I will be posting the links below so that you guys can see a little more about that. But I'm really glad that it happened. I'm really glad it's looking good for the writers. And this is more of an inside. This is coming from NPR. The article is written by Manuela Lopez Restrepo, and it's titled "The Hollywood Writers' Strike is Over. What's Next for the Writers?" And it's two writers that were kind of asked about their opinions on what happens now. And the writers are Elise Brown and Kylie Brakeman, who spoke with All Things Considered about what it means for them for their strike to finally be over. So, overall, what's the big deal? If you've been following the story, you'll know the many hours of organizing and negotiating that went into finalizing the historic deal between the striking writers and studios they work with. There are plenty of twists and turns, including rogue studio tour visitors joining the picket lines, trees getting chopped, and executives making comments that might have not helped their cause. Amy Pascal, girl, we're looking at you. And of course, there's the personal impact on each writer that participated in the strike. Many struggled to make ends meet and worried about their place in the industry as AI became more common. So what are they saying? Here's how Brown and Brakeman reflected on the past few months and what they see in their future. How the pause impacted their own lives. This is coming from Brakeman herself. I definitely felt a little aimless, a little wandering. It sort of felt like the first week or two of COVID lockdowns, but only applied to us. I picked up the banjo. We were on strike for long enough for me to buy a banjo, sort of, learn how to play the banjo, and then completely forget how to play the banjo. It's just hilarious. Um, interesting interesting and actually nice comparison to the COVID lockdown, because obviously it felt like this was obvious an isolated thing, but then again too with COVID it was more of like a alone together thing. Brown states the 5 months were definitely hard and I love to write. It's one of my favorite things to do, and even when I'm not working I still kind of do it on the side for my own things. I'd say the first month or two I was able to write, but towards the second half of it or so, there was just so much anxiety and emotion built up in terms of just trying to figure out where the strike was going and trying to continue to make ends meet. And also just worrying about being out on the lines and the uncertainty of it all, that I just wasn't really writing very much. Aw, I feel really bad. It sucks because, you want you can relate to that. I can relate to that. I think I can relate to Brown a little more than Brakeman, but uh, I also write. I think Adam writes too, and for them not to almost feels compromising because at the end of the day you're a writer, but you're not writing for your pleasure anymore. You're kind of writing to just let your anxiety out, but they follow up with their thoughts on the deal struck by the WGA, and Brakeman states, I think it's great that they started to establish a framework for residuals for streaming because I think that most of our jobs will be streaming. And so to finally have something codified that will say, like, hey, we deserve to be paid for this because this is TV, we deserve to be paid for this. I also think the gains are pretty significant. I think that film and TV is being hijacked by tech overlords who want to turn film and TV into like content sludge that we slurp up. There has been this draw, and I think that this is a good first step at saying, hey, writing is work. A robot cannot write for us. I think, not to get all poetic over whatever, but binding humans to art, I think, is very important. And I think that that's a fundamental thing about art that cannot be taken away. Obviously, that's a really, really beautiful way of putting it, Brakeman. Of course, binding humans to art, signifying that this is theirs. That is a very important trademark for any type of creative outlet anywhere. I think obviously like even myself here making this video, I'll look back at it one day and be like, oh yeah, I remember that day creatively, and this is my work. I sat up and I edited the video and I uploaded it and all that stuff, and there's work applied to it, too. So that's really beautiful. Brown follows up by saying, I think the deal is something that's going to affect all of us. I think about it. I think about that. It's important to even just having the ability to have conversations about protecting our work from being used to train AI, about being in control of whether or not AI material is considered intellectual property, and overall what they look forward to tackling next. Brakeman states, I am looking forward to hopefully being staffed in the future. I think that being in a writer's room is sometimes the most fun thing in the world. Love just those weird little tangents that you go on when everyone's in a room. Like, okay, what was this weird McDonald's character that they discontinued in the 80s, and why were people mad about it? Just going down these rabbit holes with people sometimes generates the most fun stuff, and I miss the feeling of being in a room and bouncing off other people. Brown, I'm really excited to go back to work, and I know that we'll have all been very excited to go back, but I also feel like everyone who is currently looking for work, the industry has contracted a little bit. Shows have gotten canceled and pulled during the strike and even before. And I also still hope that actors who are still on strike are able to get a great deal and get some of the protections and gains that we're able to. pretty nice. I think I like this article because it does show hands-on like thoughts and concerns about the strike and how that happened and how it affected their lives. Overall, again, I'm really happy that the writers have gotten an agreement and a compromise. I hope this doesn't have to happen again. It was 143 days of strike. That means that was such a long time. That's such a like a quarter of a year, actually a third of the year, if you really think about it, where people's lives were unstable and they didn't really know, but they were fighting for something that meant something, and they luckily got reached an agreement. Hopefully, the rest of the strikes, SAG-AFTRA are still on the picket lines, but hopefully they will reach an agreement. Um, but overall, yeah, I just thank you for this article. I think it was really great, and I love the fact that Brown and Brakeman just sound like anybody that you could talk to. Of course, we had Magali on the show as well, and previously, and like we were only thinking of them throughout the strike. So I'm glad. Hopefully, this actually helps out for them. But overall, just to summarize again, um, the minimum weekly pay for writers will increase more than 12% over the 3-year duration of the deal, which is great. And moreover, various projects will see a major boost in residual payments, so everybody will be making money, hopefully. um, so I hope this is a really good sign and a really good step forward. But enough of that topic, and let's talk Saw 10. Hold up, I need a little coffee drink. Saw 10. Saw 10. Saw 10. I'm making it seem like it's so bad, but it actually wasn't. I think I definitely enjoyed this movie more than I thought I was going to. I think this movie was actually pretty good. So mind you, I'm not a big fan of the Saw movies. I've never been a big fan of the franchise in itself. I like slashers more than I do that torture porn stuff. And I only say that because I'm quoting Scream 4. um, I generally felt like I knew that Saw follows a formula. They give you all this like twists and turns throughout, and then at the very end, and on the final act, there's the final twist that just pieces everything together, and they give you a series of flashbacks. This Saw does exactly the same thing, except, however, this Saw takes place this is something I found out. This Saw takes place between I think 1 and 2. So we follow John Kramer in this journey to save himself from cancer, because it's terminal, and it's getting there. And we start off with him in like chemotherapy and like a support group for people who have stage 4 cancer and moving forward. And it's funny because I remember sitting there in the movie theater thinking like, why is this movie kind of dragging? Because at the end of the day, I was thinking it's like they're trying to like humanize John Kramer, even though we know who he is. He's Jigsaw, right? And he comes up with these elaborate plans to punish people because they have done wrong in their own lives. So they kind of, in a sense, play God. He kind of, in a sense, plays God, but like he has no right to, because his morale it's questionable. You know what I'm saying? So he desperately travels to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Now, this is a very interesting premise because, overall, I was intrigued, because I was like, as a viewer, I was like, why are they getting us to sympathize with him? Why should we? Why is there has to be a reason, because even Tobin Bell does an amazing job as John Kramer, and even we have a recurring alumni coming back as Shawnee Smith playing Amanda Young, who is fantastic in the film. This formulates the anti-hero and whether or not our leads are, and where exactly should we put our, like, who would we want to see succeed in this movie and overall survive. I love the premise overall because it is different compared to the other Saw movies. I think it's on the higher strike, on the higher leverage in terms of like where these fit. Again, I haven't seen Saw 1 since the first time I saw Saw 1, and even then the rest of the sequels seem a little iffy. I just remember their traps moreover than the story, and even then including that Jigsaw Chris Rock spinoff. But this on its own feels like a requel, obviously because it's like a prequel slash like reboot too. And I actually ended up liking it. There's probably about like 15 people in my theater, and I think we were the loudest in it. We were the most reactive. I was squirming in my seat most of the time. I felt like there were some traps that were really elaborate, and there were some that question logic. My roommate went in a whole tangent after the movie, kind of just dissecting the movie from a mathematical and like realistic view, and I was kind of like, I was like, dude, you can't really like give this movie that much crap because, and he was aware of it. He's like, you can't give this movie that much crap because it's like it's Saw movie. You're not going in there seeing Oppenheimer. You're not seeing like the mathematics of things. You're going in there to see people get tortured and whether or not they were like they can survive torture that thing. But overall, this movie is a roller coaster ride. So it starts off very slow, and then once you feel the beginning, the second act coming into terms, you notice it. It's once the reveal was pretty crazy. Yeah, it is definitely a fraud, and it's crazy that takes place in Mexico because I guess that's something that could happen there. But John Kramer goes back post surgery to thank his doctors, and when he comes back, he realizes that the farm where he was taken to is no longer there. It was basically ransacked. Everything kind of like burnt to the ground. It looks like it was abandoned from the get go. It looks like it was just like staged when he first got there to make it look and seem that this was like a rehabilitation center. And then he gets to the operation table, and all he sees is a DVD of a playback of his operation that he vividly remembers because of all the anesthesia. Nothing happens. He takes off his bandages, and there's no scar, no nothing. They don't even dig into his brain. They just take his money. Which, in my defense, I would be pissed too. Are you kidding me? And I feel like this is something that has happened before because there are medical scams that happen, but this is something that is probably like the closest thing to real life that could happen within the Saw universe. Um, and and yeah, he just spirals and he remembers every single one. First and foremost, I really like that we have a Saw that has a primarily cast of Mexicans. I love that. Hinojosa, who plays Mateo, was probably one of my favorites. But actually, one of my standouts was Renata Vaca, who plays Gabriela. We meet her as this very timid and shy housekeeper who is hosting basically her house as the rehabilitation center because of her tragic backstory of her family. That is the idea that we get introduced to. When we meet her again, she's basically a coked out like uh drug abuser who is just looking for her next fix, and she finds Mateo who works as a veterinarian custodian where he breaks into the medical cabinets to steal drugs for Gabriela, and it's insane. And then another standout would be Sinov Makodi Lund, who plays Cecilia Peterson, who's the head of the operation of the fake whole thing, of the whole like rehabilitation center. And she is so cutthroat and ruthless and doesn't care at all about these people, like not even her own staff. And you can tell because off the bat, John Kramer kind of sets them up to be like, this is the first person that I met, they're gonna die first. The second person that I met, they're gonna be challenged, and it just continues and continues on. And the suspense is there, like the suspense is there. And oh man, there were some traps that I was like, oh my god, I don't know how you can even freaking do this. Towards the third act, of course, it's revealed that the whole plot twist is revealed that uh it kind of, here is where like logic kind of has to play it coming apart, because there was a big chance um the whole operation was kind of stopped by this guy named Hoffman, who's played by Costas Mandalore, and he is basically the lover for Cecilia Peterson, and they Amanda and John Kramer base their relationship on this third trap, and they expect them to follow a plan that somehow, because of plot, do, and then they end up catching themselves in a reverse like Uno trap, where a bunch of radioactive chemicals go into the room and they have to basically make sure one of them survives. It's just the whole thing. But then the whole playback goes by and everything, and so and so and so. I can't tell you the entire movie all together. I think there are some really good standout scenes in this one where I really did enjoy, and there are some moments where I was like, "Oh God, this is just so painful to watch. Like, I don't want to watch this anymore." But overall, I think I did enjoy, especially because it's October. I give this movie like a 7 out of 10. Go see this movie with friends. I wouldn't recommend seeing this like on a date night. Like, absolutely not. That's not the movie you want to go see. But also too, it is kind of, because you'll be squirming and like whatever, you'll be moving in your seat. But I think it's one of those movies that you should definitely check out, just because it's fantastic. Like, it's fun in the sense where you're gonna go see a Saw movie and that's what you're gonna get. Um, the story is nice in the sense where they actually kind of give they begs the question whether these people are worse than John Kramer. You know, whether they deserve to get what they deserve. Which honestly, in my reality, in John Kramer's reality, I feel like I'm with John Kramer on this one, because like they were scamming people and they didn't care. Like, they were like, everyone had an incentive, everyone had a morality issue and a compromise, and everyone had a reason to do this, but also too, it was at the expense of people's lives, and they were all, and their defense was just because they were terminally ill that they were going to die anyway, so what was the point of them even having their money? You, like, I like I'm with both of them, because it's like, however, I'm not gonna end up in a saw trap, because that will never be me. Absolutely not. If this was real, if I will be very careful, if I ever met John Kerry, I'd be like, sir, I'm gonna no, I would be as nice and fake as possible, just because these traps are insane. There's, oh God, there's some really crazy ones. Obviously, the one in the trailer you've seen, and then the posters. There's the one with the eyes. That one's pretty crazy. Um, it's uh, oh man, yeah. I'm getting all squirmish now. I'm sorry. It's just Saw. Go see it. Go make up your mind. If you have seen it, leave in the comments your reactions and your response and your score. Did you enjoy this movie? Do you think it was a good addition? Do you think there's gonna be more? Um, Even though it was a prequel. So yeah, I think that's gonna cover it, guys. Thank you again so much for joining me on this solo episode. I really do appreciate it. I miss Adam as always. I hope I did a good job. I think I did a good job, and I don't feel that much alone. But he's done it before on his own, and he's done fantastically. So, again, our episodes will resume as always on Wednesdays, and we'll be dropping Movie News Monday on Monday with TV Inquiry on Thursdays. And then if we have a upcoming movie review, we will be reviewing those on Fridays. So, hit the notification button as well as the like and subscribe button for more future content, and we are very, very thankful for your support each week. Thanks again, even for sticking with us. These past couple weeks have been a little busy. Life gets in the way all the time. For me, it's been kind of up and down, but we are doing our best, and we're human. And happy October, happy birthday, Neff Campbell. Yeah, and this will conclude episode 142 of Our Real Addiction. I'm Miguel. Sic Parvis Magna, everybody.